everybody, this is Ananias, and I'm going to be playing Beyond Shadowgate today. The idea behind this channel, real quick, is just going to be playing some weird, rare, obscure video games. Going to be starting with a bunch of TurboGrafx because I was that kid that grew up with that system. So, just kind of a shout out to Derek and Mike, a couple buddies of mine in Knoxville. In large part, I'm doing the channel for the three of us because they grew up with me, and we were playing these games. I felt like sometimes I was, well, no, I was going to say I felt like I was dragging them into these games, but it really wasn't the case. I was the only person that had these games, and they're actually really, really cool. At least I think they were, or are rather. But anyway, so these games, well, this game in particular it's a kind of a point and click game, sort of, and I'll explain what I mean by sort of here in a second. But this is the direct sequel to Shadowgate on the original Nintendo. Um, and then there was Shadowgate 64, which obviously came out on the Nintendo 64, but I have no idea how it fits into the lore, if it does at all. I think I played that one briefly, again, years ago. Never really got into it, but the original Shadowgate on the Nintendo was also a type of point and click, but it was a first person point and click. So on the left side of the screen, you would kind of see ahead of yourself, if you see what I mean, like in front of you, and you could select different things. And at the bottom, you would have different verbs like open, close, I don't know, push, pull, that kind of thing. And then on the right, you had an overhead map. This one is more of an isometric view where you're looking at your character walking around. Now, what I mean by that, it's sort of like a point and click. It looks like a point and click that would have been on a PC back in the early '90s, late '80s, that kind of thing. And this game did come out, I think, in '93. I apologize. I don't have the game case in front of me, but anyway, but to streamline it for the console, you don't move a cursor around and point and click, and your character move there. You just use the directional pad. Now, where it's similar also to point and click, you have icons. You have a hand that's basically your interact, the way you interact with things in your environment. So instead of all the push, pull, and all that mess, you just have a single interact button. And then, of course, you have an inventory that you can inventory and try to use it in your environment. You have an eyeball where you can look at things, and you have an icon, a talking icon that you can use to obviously speak with people. Um, but as far as the game goes, God, these cutscenes are just so cool. And keep in mind too, this was on the TurboGrafx CD. This is actually a Super CD, so um, it required a little more RAM than just the TurboGrafx CD, and you needed the Super System card or have the Turbo Duo. Um, but anyway, oh, before I get too far into this, full disclosure, I own this game and the hardware, but I'm playing this on a PS1 Classic. Um, and the reason for that, it was really is twofold. Although I could probably come up with another reason if given a minute. The primary reason is I was running into some video and audio quality trying to use the original hardware going through my Elgato game capture card, um, and it was just doing really weird things. It'd be way too long to get into all that, but um, so that was the primary reason. I guess you could say, which is kind of twofold with the simple fact that the PS1 Classic outputs in 720p. So I can get an actually really good signal. But a reason that is just as big as that one is that I can run multiple games and have as pretty much as many saves as I want on these games. So it'll allow me to play multiple games at the same time and upload tons of stuff to YouTube that way, because these consoles, they didn't have memory cards. Whatever memory was on there, that was it as far as the hard drive went. Um, and some of these games take a chunk of the hard drive, as in, this game will allow you to have three saves, And I don't know how much more you could actually save other than those three saves on the hard drive. It wouldn't surprise me if there's not a lot more space. Um, and there's some other games like that too, like Might and Magic 3. Wouldn't surprise me if that ate up a ton of it as well. So anyway, so there are some really good reasons for doing it the way that I'm doing, but I wanted to get that out there up front. Um, just because there's probably going to be some telltale cues as well that you may notice if you know the guy. I mean, I don't know that. I did notice the very beginning screen where it says Super CD-ROM system. You push run. There's no loading time whatsoever. It just jumps straight into it. So I'm hoping it'll actually be a little more streamlined. So back to the game. You've just been thrown in the dungeon. You are the king's son. The king was murdered. You were overseas or what have you, and you come back, and the your king, or your father, the king's advisor, um, had you immediately thrown in the dungeon. Claimed you were behind the plot to kill your father, although it was actually the advisor that did it. And now the advisor is wanting to marry your sister, for I guess a legitimate claim to the throne. So that's basically where you're at right now. So your dad's dead, you're in the dungeon, and your sister's about to marry an evil guy. So, okay, so here's the moving around. You have two buttons on this controller. Well, two primary buttons, like on the Nintendo. So I can duck and I can punch. And as you you can probably tell, you can actually hear him punching something even though there's nothing there. But anyway, you can bring up, there's the eyeball, so you can check stuff out that's in the room here. Um, Kind of give you an idea of your environment. Can be very handy, and you can actually move this thing around too, which is kind of cool. Let's see here, and then there's the talking thing, and there's nobody to talk to. Won't let you talk to yourself. There's a hand. This is the interact hand I was telling you about. Um, and again, there's just flat out nothing to interact with right now. So you can bring up this is your inventory, and right now you just have this weird looking thing here, but you can take the eye or the hand. The eye will kind of tell you what it is, I guess, or what it looks like. The hand will let you use it. So now I can move this match around. I'm going to let this guard, whenever I burn this, and please check out the animations. These animations are just so awesome. I don't know if you had a chance to notice there, but the flame flickering light on his arm, just really cool. Anyways, I'm going to let him kill me so you guys can see this first death. And speaking of which, the deaths in this game are part of the fun of this game. There are so many deaths. It's absolutely nuts. This was one of the first games that I played that had anything like that. I played this around the same time as the first Mortal Kombat, um, and I think Doom. Now Doom had come out a little while before this, but I hadn't played it. I didn't have a PC to play games on really. Um, so this was an early introduction to to gore, I guess you could say. And and I hate to use the word gore because it's not like it's over the top or anything like that. It's just there is definitely blood and stuff like that. And when you're coming off of a game like, oh, I don't know, Zelda or Mario or something like that, um, it really is kind of a game changer, if you will, um, for you. So let's hop out here now. The sound, I don't know how well your guys are going to be able to hear the audio in this, but and I mentioned that this was a CD game. And so you actually have, like right here, this is your king. I keep saying that. Your father, the king, actually speaking to you. So there's voiceovers here. Now they didn't typically do a ton of voiceovers just because it took up so much room. But this is going to be the first that you ever would have heard anything like that out of a console video game. And just the sound right now, and I'll be quiet for just 1 second. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but the fire is literally crackling, and they would have used an actual sound bite from a fire is my guess because it sounds fantastic. You just have this low ambient eerie music with an occasional like dripping sound, or I think there's even a sound of somebody kind of screaming in the background just to kind of give that ambient feel of just dread and possibility of torture and things like that. Oh, let me actually go ahead and save it. Okay, save it. Okay, and that's going to start us at the beginning of whatever room we just entered. Now, you may have noticed there's no life bar. And so you kind of get a feeling for how much life your character has, I guess you could say, within a particular screen. But it also depends on whatever you're getting attacked with. It seems like, but some of that's even kind of random. Like that first guy that was in the dungeon or the room we just started in, he hits you with the bucket and it's a one-hit kill. You go in here and this guy has a sword. I think it takes 2 hits to kill you, if memory serves. But my memory is really. I'm not going to trust my memory. It's been over 20 years since I played this game. Probably closer to 25 now. God, I'm old. But the idea there is to kind of let him hit you once, get in close, and just hold that button down and just go to town with him. And actually, sometimes, like in the guy you'll see here in just 1 second, you actually have to do that twice. But if he hits you a third time, I think it is, then it'll kill you. And as you could tell with the salt and pepper or the pepper shaker there and in the previous room, the bucket, it's pretty easy to tell the stuff you can interact with and the things that you can't. Which is kind of handy, I guess, on something like, well, it's very handy, I guess. So, anyways, we're going to go into this room. Well, if I use the freaking key. There we go. Okay. So let's hop into here. Okay, that's not good. And I don't think there's any way to actually save that guy. Good. Okay, that's got him. Okay, so he actually hit me. Well, I didn't count, but I think 3 times. But anyway, so we can check this guy out here. Now, one interesting thing here. Well, there's a lot of interesting things here, but I'm going to talk to him, and I'll be quiet here. Hang on. Okay, don't know if you could hear him, but he says Rosebud. And that is something that your character is gonna say later. It's a password. The thing of it is, whenever I played this the first time back when I was, I don't know, 13 or 14, I was so accustomed to needing to write notes down, writing everything down pretty much, and like for a game like Zelda, although Zelda I think had a map in the instruction booklet. I'm wanting to say, drawing a map or something was not uncommon. So I wrote down Rosebud, and you actually don't need to. Your character will just use it automatically later. But I've never tested whether or not if I go in there and actually maybe not even having to go in there. It's not like I picked anything up from that room. And then later on, will your character just know it, or will you not be able to go down that branching path? I never tested that, so I'm not sure. So I do want to save the game here because there's a death I'm going to show you guys. Let's see, save. You never know in this game what's going to kill you. Like literally, you could be walking across. Well, I don't want to give that away. That's a little bit later in the game, but anyway, what if something can be hidden within? Okay, so obviously you're going to use your hand there to see if something's there, and that's a bad time. So, oh yeah, I remember the. Okay, so you get a very heavy metal death shot right there. So. Let's see, it's going to load us up here. And like I said before, it sticks you at the beginning of the room. So this is probably a good place to stop the first video, I guess. If you guys want me to keep playing, and this goes with any of the videos that I'm going to do, if anybody out there wants me to keep playing, I'll be more than happy to do so. I absolutely love these games, and now that I'm actually playing it again, it just brings back all kinds of memories. Would love to keep going down memory lane with whoever it is that wants me to. So, everybody take care. And like I said, I'm going to be doing a bunch of these. So there you go. All right. And you guys, everybody have a great day.